I'm sorry, Bruce Blackfire, I don't please. Stupid Logitech camera with fucking piece of shit. So this is unfortunately an overlay trying to document RECOG at roots level. In this piece I'm trying to do an account of illustrating my capacity to comprehend Turkish, which is not 100% whatsoever, quite far from it, and how my conceptualization and absorption of Turkish is very much like a pomegranate, where we've got these clumpy segments which are not regular like a segmented fruit. It's more uniform in its unitology. It can't be taught to me in segmented pieces such as mandarin or orange pomelo, and these clumps, it's lumpy and interconnected, and so when it comes to the teaching, this lingo, what I've observed of it from my parents, can't be taught like a uniform straight way, and that's my frustration when I have seen attempts of the teaching of Turkish where they're trying to do these fucking vowel harmony craptastic. I just can't connect. Front vowels, back vowels, what the hell are you talking about? Nah, I don't compute, and quite frankly, I don't believe the core units that I needed, I don't believe they're actually taught. People just know it, and this is the stuff that gets absorbed when you're a kid naturally anyway, so what's the point of teaching it because everybody already knows it? It's like that. In the meanwhile, I go through the experience of, well, through my language, I'm detecting a Y stream and a W stream. I'm processing that through the lens of my meanness over here, which seeded with Australian English. So I'm conscious of how the other side is likely to perceive that as what the fuck she going on about. I believe there would be others who can see clearly what's going on, and my way will offer validation, confirmation of various patterns as they see it. They'll be able to bridge their linguistic jargonology into the way I'm reading it at this end, so it can help as a validating input, but at the same time it might be able to offer alternative throughways that can help them bridge deeper their way through the linguisticoidal type of terrain that I personally am not okay with, because I perceive the discipline of linguistics as an exclusionary genre that actively excludes my language, and whatever is being taught through the Turkic portals, I end up receiving it as a form of, sorry guys, you sound like a fucking parrot, where your observations are not based on your own personal private analysis, but your conclusions are coming from some form of schooling that taught you this is how it's supposed to be. I'm coming from ground level, no schooling with that discipline. I'm channeling through the discipline of design, and that's the typographic orthography side of the spectrum. What's there to be said of my training, hey? When I feel the standards at UTS were so far going subpar, anything graduating with a discipline of design viscom through UTS needs to go through some form of triage, I guess, especially if it was with a first class honours, especially if you can't find a job on the other side of that bullshit, but bullshit real good. Take note of how I rate my comprehension state at 48 to 62%. However, depending on the context, I can understand towards 85%. When the figure is 48% or lower, that's generally with things such as the news, because that type of medium communicates with a lot of dense names of places. I don't know names of politicians. I don't know the party names. I don't know the blah 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 regional level type of identifying words. So without knowing that stuff, there's no capacity for me to link, bridge, connect, relate. It's not relatable, so I can't comprehend. I tune out. Yeah, there's me trying to draw politicians. I don't know how to draw politicians, so that's why I just draw these people with their tongues hanging out and waggling, because that's all I said. accent as all they do all day long. I wanted to say how the experience through an English perspective would be similar to, let's say, I hop over to the US or England and I turn on the television and the news segment has crossed over to the politics. Even though they're speaking in English and I understand English words, I'm not going to be able to understand which party is which party, which one's the blue one, which one's the red one, which one's the peace-loving hippie among beans, which one's the Nazi camp, which one's the country communist capitalist, blah 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 blah. I don't know that stuff. Perhaps they start talking about some business name, some business causing scandal, blah blah blah, and the politics has to go blah 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 blah. It just becomes blah 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 blah. So if one of these politicians were to say the cat sat on the mat throughout all of that, my brain wouldn't be able to pick up on that's what they said, that's what they meant, because foreground of my mind has tuned out. I think similar would be with the weather. Even though there's a map, you won't be able to mesh. There will be jargon that's colloquial. They have different terms for the same thing. Oh, you mean this and that, but over at my place it means something else. That sort of issue to navigate. So that's where comprehension starts to drop, and where it starts to increase is if the subject is close to me, if it's, let's say, my mother talking to me, or perhaps it's a comedy, that will start to creep towards that 85% zone. But if it's still not quite 85, it's somewhere between 62 and 85. And this is me trying to explain the difficulty of I can't rate my Turkish comprehensionality through an even system of something like 6 out of 10. That's just not possible. That variability of comprehension is so wide, it will shift according to environment, according to function, according to many different variables will shift that. So how the fuck can you test the comprehension there? What is the actual comprehension when the dynamic is so, where's the control? Can't find the control, or the style of approach to try and gain some kind of a control definition requires a dynamic method that can't easily work with regimental systems of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There would be other ways. I just don't work in that type of stream. So in terms of trying to color in the pomegranate and how much I understand, well, yeah, I'm going to understand various strings in different types of clusters. I just progress with coloring the bits that I do know kind of okay enough, and how they can create strings and they can plug into the white membrane. It's close to the central nervous system. So let's say the white stuff is the CNS. I can link into the CNS, which goes into the stem that comes from the tree that made me be. So that was just my attempt to illustrate my comprehension of Turkish, which never rooted. It's complicated. Although I have seeded and bore fruit on this land, we've got a bit of like a super grafting complication where I didn't get to fruit properly in the first place. And if I was some kind of a fruit, I picture myself being like one of those warped mutations where a bit of wire got stuck, and so the fruit had to sort of grow around it and became lumpy and mutated. I'm kind of like that Türkürüğik, the one that nobody wants to buy at the shop because it's too warped, demental, lumpy. There's something wrong with it. Despite that, I've still seeded. So this is my still haven't died yet process. There was one bit I missed, that comprehension. I don't rate my Turkish as being particularly skilled at all, which may or may not be a gross understatement assessment. I can perceive how some aspects of my Turkish may be regarded as, what the fuck, you're better than the average here. That I know there's an element like that. I have shades of competence that will ping, but there's other elements of, no, there's something wrong with this one. Something really wrong, something very disturbing, something that will put a lot of people off. Some people that would instantly cut me off as a discard without knowing me. Some will regard me as an outright foreigner. What else? Others will outright regard me as, what kind of a Turk are you? You're not a real Turk. Yeah, I'm gonna face that. There are aspects of culture cultural etiquetteisms. We do it like this, we do it like that. Yeah, I take my shoes off at the door, same way my Chinese friends did it. I'm sorry, that's not an exclusively Turkish thing, but you think it is, because I had Chinese friends who did that at their houses, Vietnamese friends who did that. I did that. The Aussies didn't do that, but I know an Aussie who did, so I don't know if the Aussie who did the shoes outside the house thing, I mean, he was in the fucking bush, for fuck's sake. He was living in the deep bush, and he's okay to just have his shoes hanging in the great outdoors for all the spiders to not slip in there, right? For me, it's like, so are you one of those Aussies who just happened to have a friend who was, I don't know, some kind of Asian or European who took their shoes off before entering the home, and you thought, oh, what a brilliant idea, I like that idea? Did you adopt that in post, or did your family always do that? I otherwise know it's a Bulgarian thing, it's a Turkish thing, it's a Chinese thing, it's a Vietnamese thing. But despite me being aware of that, it doesn't mean that all of these different types of identities do that, because some of them don't, and some of them have hard surface floors that can actually be washed, so it's no big deal for them to get really psychotic with their white tornado performances of cleanliness Olympics, where the standard of cleanliness is ahead of your average Australian hospital.
This is gonna be fucking the musical. Fucking the musical.
Duck, duck, a buck, duck. Ductillo. Bitch.
Adım Ayşe.